Good morning, everybody. I'd like to go ahead and get the church service started here. Welcome to the People's Church of Divine Prophecy. And thank you for choosing to spend part of your Sunday here today, especially since I'm lecturing today. You guys are going to have to, I keep asking you to remind me if my tie's not straight or my name tag's not straight. I get home and look at the video and it's turned sideways. Tie's all shoved around, so kind of give me a heads up here because that video goes out to quite a few people. Have at least a reasonable professional appearance, even though we know I'm not. So I'd like you to silence your cell phones unless you're medical or law enforcement personnel. That's after this. I'm reading the script today.
Okay.
Trying not to forget anything. Got to apologize for the air again. Looks like the central unit didn't come on. Well, it did come on, but apparently it's not working. We have our own unit here, so hopefully it'll catch up after a few minutes. To have Valerie light the candles to start the service, symbolizing the unity of body, mind, and spirit. Just there's no mistake. Thank you. Please stand for the invocation or remain standing for the first prayer. The first one. Dear Father God, we give thanks for this moment here in time. May we feel the true presence of the Spirit within us and around us. May we take time out of our day to just be here now and feel this present for us, this love from the Spirit side of life, unlimited, without reservation. May we breathe it into our souls and bodies. May it be our expression while we're here today to those around us. Amen.
Amen.
Number 3, surely the presence.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. I can feel the touch of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Please be seated. Next portion is a thought for the day from the pastor. This is where I bring out something that's come across my awareness, trying to put it into spiritual perspective through a philosophy that I'm trying to bring into my life. We sit in a lot of classes, we learn a lot of things, we read a lot of things about spiritual development, and until you bring it out and practice it in the real world, it doesn't become wisdom. And something that was told to me one time, the difference between wisdom and knowledge is knowing that it's made as a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. So this is where I try to take spiritual knowledge and turn it into spiritual wisdom in my life. What came across my awareness this week was an enthusiasm for life. You know, we all talk about wishing we were younger again and wishing we felt like we did when we were younger. But when I think about that, I think of not so much the health, which would be nice, but it's more the enthusiasm that I had for life, the unbridled hope and joy of the day unfolding before me, the excitement about that day as I move forward with my life. As we get older, we tend to just take a lot of things for granted and just begin to be a little mundane about things and not really have that excitement because we have jobs, we go out to the job, we do the same job every day, we do the same thing every day. And even if you're self-employed, you can get into that rut of repetitive thoughts about doing the same thing and I have to do this instead of I want to do this. So I started turning my attitude around and wanting to do the things that are presented before me. I'm getting ready to retire from a 23-year career, which has been pretty high-powered, a lot of decisions, a lot of activities with it, and do more of what I'm doing now. So it's a bit of a change, and the whole past year since I've finally decided to truly retire, the job's gotten very repetitive. I've lost my enthusiasm for doing that job because I'm trying to end it. So I've decided to try to put the enthusiasm back into what I'm doing, because it's getting tough to go to a job that I used to really love to do. So it's all about the enthusiasm of life, and I think that without the recklessness of it when we were younger, a day doesn't pass that I don't wake up suffering from some recklessness that I did when I was younger in my body, joints, muscles, things like that. So, but I enjoyed it. I wouldn't undo any of it. I enjoyed everything I did. So I would ask you to just think about that, approaching life with an enthusiasm, and a lot of that comes from just truly appreciating what you have and where you're at. I've taken on feeding a bunch of stray cats. The community I live in, Casadega, traps the cats, fixes them, and turns them back loose into the community as a live release so that they can live out their lives. And they kind of gravitate. There's about 50 homes there that the church owns the land under, and the individuals own the homes. And for some reason, about 7 of them have decided I get to feed them twice a day. And they're really feral. When I first started doing this about a year and a half ago, they wouldn't come near me. I'd put the food out, they'd sneak out and eat it. Now they're at the front door meowing if I don't feed them all the time. So it's, and you know what that is their needs are simple, their joy is simple. Food, water, and a safe environment, and a fellow creature that they can relate to. And they're happy as they'll ever be. And I looked at that and I said, I've got all that. I should be just as happy and joyous as they are. So think about that, approaching life with enthusiasm about what's before you. Now, there are certain things that come across our life, passings of people that grieve us, separating long-term relationships that grieve us, financial challenges that tend to grieve us. That's not going to change. That's life. That's life in a finite, limited world. It's just the purpose and the way life is. Our purpose is to bring that spiritual knowing in, to be able to step into that spiritual knowing and allow that to be a platform to keep us from sinking too low when those times happen, to keep us buoyed up to a positive level even though difficult things are happening. So I just ask you to think about these things. Practice them in your life and you'll see the results. Thank you for listening. Ashken's going to continue to chair the service from this point because I'm going to be doing the lecture and the demonstration. So I'll have Ashken come up now.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to welcome you all. My name is Ashkhen. I'll be chairing the service from this point on. Our service is comprised into 3 parts. We have first is the healing and the meditation. Second is the inspirational lecture. And third is the demonstration of spiritual gifts. So we will begin with the first part of the service, which is the healing. I would like to ask Lorraine and Reverend Steve. They'll be available for hands-on healing. The way it works, when you hear the sound of this chime, it indicates a chair has become available over here. We do have reserved chairs in the back if you would like to go ahead and wait in those chairs. During the meditation, which I will be leading you in a guided meditation. Before we start the meditation, please turn to the back of your hymn notes And for a prayer for spiritual healing, we can read it together. I ask the great unseen healing force to remove all obstructions from my mind and body and to restore me to perfect health. I ask this in all sincerity and honesty, and I will do my part. I ask this great unseen healing force to help both present and absent ones who are in need of help and to restore them to perfect health. I put my trust in the love and power of God. Just get into a comfortable position. Find a comfortable position to sit so we can start the meditation for those who would like to sit through the meditation. Feet straight on the floor, palms up in your lap. May close your eyes. Take in a deep breath, inhale through your nose. Hold it there for a few seconds and then exhale through the mouth. Do it a few more times. Breathe in as deep as you can and then exhale. With your exhale, let go of the tension if there is any in your physical body. You are experiencing any ache or pain. Just breathe it out. Let go of the thoughts that are occupying your mind. If you have any worries, any concerns that are keeping your mind busy, with your exhale, breathe it out and let it go for now. Bring your awareness to your breath. Let go of the chatter of your mind and just focus on your breath. Feel the motion of your breath as it flows gently in and out of your body. Just go with the flow of your breath. Follow your breath. That is taking you deeper and deeper within yourself to a very peaceful and quiet space within you, to your inner world, your inner sanctuary, to that sacred space within you that feels calm, quiet, and soothing. Connect with this peaceful space and become one with it. Repeat to yourself gently, I am stillness of your consciousness. This is your true state of being. Embrace this peacefulness and the quietness, and be still. Just be still within. In the silence and the quietness, you feel the greatness of your spirit as you become aware of your spirit, and you become aware of the presence of God within you, and you feel that connection as you go deeper and deeper within your soul. In the silence, you hear your inner voice, your inner whisper, the voice of truth that speaks through your intuition, the voice of your Creator, the omnipresence, the omniscient. In the silence, as you connect deeper and deeper, the voice becomes clearer and vital. As you hear the positive affirmations of your higher self, the omnipresence, communicating with you. You have a mental clarity, and you hear the voice of your intuition. As you listen to the guidance that is coming through, this presence, you gain a wider perspective and understanding as you open up to understand yourself, your spirit, to understand your purpose, the greater purpose, your divine purpose that you chose to come back and fulfill. In this presence, you will receive the answers to your whys and to your whats. Take a moment and interact with this mighty presence that seeks your highest good, that seeks the betterment of yourself, that is always there to guide you, to enable you to continue your journey. While you are here on earth and beyond, in the higher dimensions, as you open up and you understand this presence within you deeply, you understand your true purpose. You understand the experiences, the lessons that you chose to come back, learn, fulfill, and move on and continue your spiritual development. You understand that every day the universe is providing you with an opportunity for new growth, for new experience, for new levels of understanding, a higher perspective. As you allow this to take form and transform into your life, you gain a better perspective to overcome the barriers, the challenges, some of the conflicts that are in your way to your ascension. As you let go of the limitations, the beliefs, the conflicts that are holding you back, you feel the freedom of your spirit. You feel the inner joy and the sensation of your true self. Your spirit is infinite. It is boundless, unlimited, with infinite potentials, infinite creativity. Surrender to your divinity. Surrender to the inner guidance that is always there, waiting for your attention, has given you the free will to choose. Make choices wisely, according to your levels of understanding. Surrender to this mighty presence that is always seeking your highest good, that is always seeking for your success and your advancement and your process and progress. Trust it and know that is the truth speaking within you in a whisper, the whisper of your spirit. As you breathe in and out, feel this presence merging with your entire being, and feel the greatness of your spirit that is capable of manifesting and materializing your thoughts, your intentions, for the highest good of all, the whole humanity and our planet. Expand your vision and your perception, and see yourself surrounded with this brilliant and bright golden light that is nurturing your mind, your body, your spirit with greatness. See yourself as a tower of light that is extending near and far. Let your light reach everywhere, throughout the planet, throughout the world. Let your light create a shift shift in the consciousness of humanity for peace, love, unity, and harmony. Hold your highest intentions for yourself and others. And know that you are the light of God that never fails. And you are the love of God that never ends. And wherever you are, whatever you do, just be the light that you are. Be the love that you are. And with this collective consciousness, let's intend for peace, light, love, and harmony to embrace our surroundings. Just be the light that you are. And so it is. Feel your peaceful breath, your quiet mind are joining together back with your physical body. Feel the calmness. Feel the harmony that is surrounding you from within and without. And integrate those vibrations into your physical reality, wherever you are. And let them manifest and materialize through your thoughts, through your intentions, through your actions and interactions with others. Come back gently. Engage with your physical senses. Integrate those vibrations. Become aware of your feet, your hands, your breath. And when you are ready, gently open your eyes. Come back and be present fully in the here and now. Gently come back. Please stand for the next hymn.
Number 1, open the eyes of my heart, Lord.
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. See you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing, holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the to see you. Singing, holy, 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 I want to see you. I want to see you.
Thank you. Please be seated. The next part of the service is the inspirational lecture. And today our speaker is our pastor, Reverend Steve Adkins. He is an ordained minister. He serves as the pastor of this church, the People's Church of Divine Prophecy, that meets here every Sunday at 11 a.m. Reverend Steve is an ordained minister, a teacher, a healer, and a medium. His experiences expands over 25 years and 5 more since I've known him. He has demonstrated the evidence of spirituality, the existence of spirituality in United States and United Kingdom. And he always inspires us with his knowledge and his experience as a spiritualist. So please help me welcome our pastor, Reverend Steve Adkins.
Thank you, Ashkhen. My knowledge primarily comes from an inspirational source, so it's not mine, it's universal knowledge. It's open to all of us. While this church does not have a fixed belief system that it promotes, I am a spiritualist, and that's generally what I speak about when it's my turn to speak. So I'm going to speak a little bit today about specifically the philosophy of spiritualism. Most spiritualists practice a form of development and observation of the world around them called co-development. There's 3 primary types of development accepted in the world today, which is singular, which is where I think I'm the only guide that I am, and everything that I think is how I guide my life. No higher being, no nothing else. Subjective is where you put yourself into a limit of a philosophy, and nothing outside of that philosophy belongs to that religion. Co-development says me, my spirit, the Spirit of God, and all of your spirits interact at different levels at different times and bring forth knowledge to me, primarily through the talent of observation and conclusion. And that's basically the spiritualist philosophy, which simply stated says it studies the law of nature on both the seen and unseen sides of life and bases its conclusion upon present observed facts. It accepts statements of observed facts of past ages and conclusions drawn therefrom when sustained by reason and by results of the observed facts of the day. And that's an interesting statement, the observed facts of today, because spiritualists are not immune to different proclamations by their gatherings and by their mediums that in later years proved not to be true for the time and that era that you're in now. Spiritualism is a growing religion. It's an evolving religion that doesn't stay static or fixed. Everything that is put forth by them is a guideline for you to accept where you're at with your life. It's not a fixed interpretation. You interpret it as you receive it. So when I read these things, don't take my interpretation. Listen to how it speaks to you, and that's what guides your life. They're guidelines. They're not inflexible doctrines or declarations. It's truths that evolve. And an example of spiritualist truths that don't, or churches that don't evolve, Emma Hardage Britton was a very famous former of the spiritualist religion for the United Kingdom in the 1800s. She started a lot of churches, started a lot of movements, fought with the government to get in a viable faith, because in the early days they were trying to jail the practitioners of this as witches. They had a witchcraft act on the books in the United Kingdom until the 1960s. So there was a lot of difficulty with people that came out and practiced this, and we're still kind of looked at as a little odd today by people when you explain to them exactly what we do. But she was one of the formative people in the very beginning of the modern movement of spiritualism. She founded a lot of churches, and almost every one of her churches is closing today because they've taken her proclamations as fixed, not to be interpreted, and not to evolve. So the followings of that church are diminishing. All her churches are diminishing because they're not open. They're not embracing that which benefits mankind. One of the primary parts of the philosophy of spiritualism is to investigate and promote that which is beneficial to the human race. Doesn't matter what faith it is, doesn't matter what philosophy it is. If it's beneficial and helpful and love and caring to the human race, we embrace it, we understand it, and we tend to promote it, while it might not be exactly part of our religious belief system. Example of that would be reincarnation. Most spiritualists accept the fact that reincarnation is real and is a true science, but it's not part of how we approach our spiritual development. It's an interesting science, it has a lot of truth to it, has a lot of interesting aspects to it that can help people. But as a spiritualist, we believe in here now. Here now is what makes the difference. Not what you were, not what you're going to be. Here now is when you make the difference. And that's where we step away from reincarnation, where they talk about you being bound by the lessons of the past and unable to get beyond something unless you meet it and conquer it. We don't have that perspective within our faith. Now, God and Spirit can work with anyone that defines what their belief system is. It doesn't matter if you mishmash 10 different kinds of belief systems, as long as you have a guided belief system that you embrace every day and guide your life by. Spirit and God can work with that and expand your understanding of the world around you. If you're aimless and just jump from one to the other every time you have a little bit of challenge, then you're just going to stay right where you're at and not evolve. My mother is a devout Catholic, and she progresses quite nicely with that faith. My brother's an agnostic. He progresses quite nicely with that belief system because he's fair and he believes in treating people well. And he knows what he believes, and he practices what he believes. When I was a pure hedonist, I knew what I believed then. And God helped me to get beyond that stage in my life because I didn't jump around. I knew what I believed. I knew what I wanted to do. And the lessons were presented to me within the value system that I embrace. So you have to define your belief system no matter what it is. And that's how the Spirit works with you. So back to spiritualism. Spiritualists believe, again, in co-development. We believe that the framework for all of evolution, of all of creation, is something called natural law. Natural law is a set of non-transgressible, irrefutable laws that the universe works by, all of creation works by. Nobody gets a dispensation around it by praying often enough or attending church often enough. Everyone is affected by the natural laws, where they're at, how they are. The law of continuity is one of the ones that we base a lot of our belief system on in the spiritualist faith. That says that so below as above. You have different graduations of souls here, different graduations of people here, some good, some not so good, some kind of neutral, some not so neutral. And in the spirit realm, you're going to encounter the same kind of people when you go to that side. So below as above. Everything radiates between the two. Nothing is broken between the two. It's a continual connection between the two. It's not, we're all physical until we die and then we go to spirit. We're as much spirit now as we'll ever be in the spirit realm. And the challenge in the physical here is to embrace that physicality and try to promote the spiritual feeling and world through that physicality to the world around us. We're challenged by other people's attitudes and actions. We're challenged by our own genetics and instincts of survival with this human body. It's quite a quite a thing to be involved in and embrace and try to deal with. And the biggest guideline I have found that helps me is to not beat myself up too bad if I don't come up to a mark I set for myself. To be able to reach for something, not attain it, and still feel good about the effort of reaching for it. Because that is where the true change in you comes about. The effort of reaching for it, the trust of stepping beyond who you are and what you believe into a little bit of the unknown. Reaching for that which is not known to you. That trust is what changes you, not so much the attainment of what you're reaching for. Now, attaining what you're reaching for is satisfying, it's fulfilling to a certain extent. But the primary change to who you are and how you function is in the effort of reaching for it, the desire to reach for it, the moving at it. There's a saying that I remember, I heard it on, I can't remember, it was on the radio or something, and they say, when you finally get what you want, it never seems like you thought it was going to be. And that, that's as true as it is long. You pursue something, you pursue it, you try to attain it. When it comes to you, some of the time it's just this, is that what it was? It's just kind of this, and you begin to realize that that was the journey. The journey is what counts, not the destination. We're overwhelmed by the media, by the events of the media today, even as close as Orlando with that shooting in the nightclub. This horrific thing that happened tends to shock us to the very core of who we are and what we believe, because how can God let that kind of thing happen? Our limited idea of God and the progress of the universe makes us be shocked by that, and we should be shocked by the savagery of it, by the insensitivity of it that made it happen. And people that do those kind of things tend to believe they're doing God's will. As odd as it sounds, they are convinced it's not an excuse to do it. These people actually believe that. And you see the same kind of insanity with people that are stuck on drugs and alcohol. They actually think, and I was an alcoholic and a drug addict for a number of years in my life, and finally managed to move through most of it through the help of spiritual organizations. But you actually believe that everything's okay when you're doing that kind of stuff. You don't think there's anything wrong. You don't honestly believe you're hurting people. It's not that you see that you're hurting people and then convince yourself that you're not. You never believe you are to begin with. And that's the difficulty of that kind of insanity in Orlando, that kind of insanity from alcoholics and drug addicts, that kind of insanity of people that are caught in any level of it. It doesn't have to be drug or alcohol induced. It can just be strictly emotional based, shocked by grief, driven into emotional perceptions of your world around you without any spirit. And that's the difference between evolution of soul and people that are just stuck. They don't feel that co-creation of God and spirit within them. They don't allow that to permeate outward within their actions and their words and their thought bases. And again, I can understand that because I was stuck in that for a long time with the drugs and the alcohol, not being able to get beyond the world that I was in. But fortunately, there was God keeps trying to communicate with you. Harder and harder things keep happening to you until you get the message. And first it's a gentle nudge, you ignore it. Then it's a little harder nudge, and you ignore it. Then you find yourself looking at a set of jail cell bars, and you really begin to consider it a little bit, and it just keeps getting more and more difficult for you to continue being who you are. And it takes more and more determination of the physical mind and the emotions to stay who you are, to finally to keep on overcoming that inspiration of God in your life. And it's like I said, it's definitely a challenge, because even though you're in a difficult belief system, as long as you understand that belief system, God can keep presenting lessons to you to move you beyond that. The other side of that coin is when you decide to help somebody. We step up and we decide we're going to help somebody who's downtrodden and kicked around and beat up by life. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we find out that that person is, like I said before, bound and determined to stay like that. And all you're doing is allowing them to stay like that when you keep aiding them. And what you find out what happens to you as a person of goodwill is that eventually God takes away your ability to help that person. Whether you're removed by it by depletion of your finances, whether you're moved from it by a social activity in your life, you are moved where you cannot interfere with God's plan for that person anymore. So when you decide to help somebody, take a moment to meditate on what God's trying to do with that person's life. Not what I want to do with that life, but how can I aid the spiritual progress of this person's life? Sometimes it is helping with monetary aid. Sometimes it's withholding monetary aid. You can't interfere with God's intention for people, but so often. You see it a lot of the time in the world around you too, where a lot of these organizations that go out and try to help people, and all it does is worsen the situation. They're not seeing the whole picture. They're not aiding the whole picture. They're band-aiding the immediate. And that's what we do as human beings without God's vision, is we go right at the immediate without seeing the plan that's around us. And we eventually end up being victims of our own desires. And we get frustrated. Why aren't they responding the way I want them to? Why aren't things getting better? I'm doing what I think I should do. But are you doing what God thinks you should do? Difficult things are used to move people, as I said. You get a gentle nudge, you get a harder nudge, and you keep getting a harder nudge. So if God's nudging somebody in a hard way, don't get in the way of it. Keep them from hurting themselves too much. Keep them from being killed or in some fashion really harmed by it, but allow the lesson to play itself out. That's the hardest thing that you can do with somebody you care about, with people you reach out to help, is to allow that life, that lesson, to play itself out. Because I know for myself, people tried to help me all the time. They tried to lift me up, and I was bound and determined to continue being a hedonist, a drug user, a drinker, a hell raiser, and just live for the minute. And finally, things changed. And it didn't change, it got changed because I got put in a detox center. And then it got changed again while I was in the detox center because of some of the people in there. And the detox center I got put in was not one of these nice plush ones. There was hookers from Church Street. There were crack dealers in there with me. There were all sorts of people in there with me. So I was right in my element, I guess you could say. You know, they didn't take no guff. There wasn't any of this hand-holding, you can be better if you want to be. They were tough as nails in there because they were street people just like I was. And that's how I came out of it, not by this loving, kind nudge or somebody paying all my bills or getting me out of trouble every time I got into it. It was the toughest people that you'll meet that got me out of it. So I ask you to think about that. Like I said, being kind to people is one thing. It's in our nature. It's in our spiritual nature to want to be kind to people. But being kind to people is not like being kind to animals, those cats I mentioned that I feed. People have a little more complexity to them in their lives and their spiritual progression than animals do. Kindness to animals is easy. It's easy to do that. They appreciate it every time you do it, completely and fully. They look forward to seeing you every time. There's not all these little games and all these ideas of getting more out of you. They accept what you give them on the way you give it to them, and people just aren't like that. So just think about that when you decide to move into helping people. It's definitely, being in service to people is a whole different attitude, and I learned how to do that when I was with a group that I sobered up in for years. They don't like their name to be used, so I'm not going to say the name of it, but they're a group that helps people become sober. And I always wondered why it seemed so much like sitting in a spiritualist church, because there was a medium, a modern medium by the name of Arthur Ford that helped to found that group. And he developed the fourth step of that group called a daily fearless searching moral inventory of yourself. He's the one that put that into the 12 steps. And then I understood why. It sounded so familiar to me from being in a spiritualist church. Some of the things about spiritualist philosophy that I'll read right out of the book. What is the philosophy of spiritualism? I already read you a condensed version. The philosophy of spiritualism teaches that all people are divine in their essential beings. The only difference being that in the degree they express this divinity. In other words, we're all divine. We are all expressions of the Spirit. The only difference between us are simply variations in character and expression based on the variables of inheritance, time, and place. What is truth? Truth is our awakening to the fundamental laws of the universe. All that is or will be is here now, but humanity is only conscious of mere fragments of the real or lasting. There are two ways we come to know the fundamental laws. We can learn by experimentation and discovery, or by the superior state of consciousness known as the psychic. However, it must be understood that the psychic is of no scientific value until we have proven it by experimentation and scientific investigation. Do spiritualists have a moral incentive? The philosophy of spiritualism differs from all others in its direct effect upon humanity, and that it is based upon demonstration and not on speculation. Therefore, its effect upon humanity in general is much more vital and penetrating. As I said in the beginning about natural law, it doesn't matter if you believe in it or not. Natural law is kind of like gravity, so below as above. If you don't believe in gravity, it doesn't matter. You're still going to fall, you're still going to trip, you're still going to be affected by it. And the natural laws of the Spirit are the same. They move you, they inspire you, they interfere with you until you understand what it is that is being tried to express to you. You can meditate on it, you can feel it, you can draw conclusions by it. And again, spiritualists believe in observing things around them, drawing conclusions from it, and trying to move forward with it through spiritual inspiration. I think the hardest part, we all believe we can expand our consciousness and communicate with angels or beings outside of us. But how many of us try to communicate with our own spiritual being? That's where the lessons of life rest at. Our own spiritual being, not some being outside of us. That's where you hear him say, go within, that's where the answers are. It doesn't mean go within to find God, it means go within to find your true self. God's there, but your true self is there. Spirits outside of you can give you encouragement, they can give you a sense of who you are, but until you begin to talk to your own spirit, you don't feel those life lessons, you don't know those life lessons, they're not apparent to you. There is a plan. I don't believe in what they call predestining, but God does have a plan for all of creation. It's all moving in a specific direction. It's just that the parameters of that movement are so wide that we can't perceive it as a limit. We have free will. It's unlimited as far as we think it is in our three-dimensional mind. But God's plan is definitely moving us all forward towards a specific goal, all of creation. As we begin to embrace that plan, we begin to embrace that inspiration, we move a little quicker towards that goal of spiritual awakening. That doesn't mean dying and going to the other side, sitting in heaven and never having any more issues. That's not what the goal is. That's what some would have you believe the goal is. That's not the goal. We're meant to continue to evolve through all of eternity, to continue to be awakened. There is an analogy of how all of creation is drawn by the power of God, similar to the law of gravity is. It's, if you see a stream running down a hillside, if you look at the stream, the center of the stream is moving quite quickly and surely back to the source that the gravity is drawing it to, as if it were the power of God. As you move outward, it seems to be moving a little slower. And then moving all the way outward to the bank, it looks like parts of it are running in circles on itself. But upon closer observation, the center of the stream is like people that are connected to their spiritual self. They're moving surely and swiftly with the goal and purpose of their life. Further outside are the people that kind of sit on the fence and hem and haw and decide maybe, maybe not. Maybe this spiritual stuff works, maybe it doesn't. And back and forth with it until they make it their own, until they make it wisdom in their life. And when you move further outward towards the eddies that look like they're running back on themselves, that, upon closer observation, that water makes its way out of that eddy back into the stream after running in circles for a few minutes. So even people that seem to be lost with their lives will be moved by that force on their path, even though they appear to themselves and the world around them that they are running in circles. They are still being moved equally and as strongly by the power of the Creator to that source. That's what we have to see when we see other people, is the power of the Creator moving that person, not so much the circumstances of their lives that are binding them or holding them down. But what is the creative force? How can we aid that creative force of moving them back to the mainstream of their life? Not how can we make ourselves feel good, make them stop hurting? How can we make them feel safe? How can we aid that power of God that's in their life and move them to a permanent solution in their lives? I don't mean to say that I've got this in hand at all. I struggle with things from day to day, but I do have that foundation of spirit within me that when I get tired of beating myself up or arguing with myself, I can relax and let that power of spirit come in. When the power of spirit comes in, it's very similar to stepping inside from a frigid day into a room that's heated by a gas heater. It's immediately permeating through every aspect of your body, immediately fulfilling and warming and making you feel whole again. It's like that. It just permeates every atom of your existence. And that's what you need to be able to see. It requires no explanation. It requires no reason other than to be able to feel that. And that's what sobered me up and saved my life when I was in that detox center. I felt that for the first time since I had been a child. And it began to move me more and more and more. Now I forget that sometimes. I forget that profound awakening that I had, as we are all to do at times. In closing, I'm going to tell a joke most of you have heard before. It's about these gospel singers that are blind. And they move around the country singing, and they're just absolutely fantastic singers. When they sing, people feel like they're being raised up to heaven by the wonders of their voice and their harmony. Now they have these CNI dogs they take with them everywhere. They go to this one backwoods chapel, very out in the woods type of thing, and the pastor's talking to the head gospel singer and says, they're arranging how everything's going to happen. He says, what are you going to do with your dogs while you're in the church? He says, they're going to sit down right in front of the platform. Pastor says, they're going to sit in front of the platform. Yes, sir, they are, says the lead gospel singer. You sure they're going to pay attention to what you tell them to do? That gospel singer got all up on his haunches and he says, "Pastor, let me tell you something. You tell your congregation something, and by Monday morning, half of them have forgotten it." He says, "Those dogs never forget what I tell them to do. You got that? They never forget it." Okay, no problem. So the evening mass comes and the dogs are down in front, the gospel singers are singing, and everybody's being lifted up to heaven. And somebody left the back door open of the church. In comes this tabby cat, just walking up and down the aisle. About halfway up the aisle, those dogs caught sight of that cat. And you know what they did? They forgot. Thank you for listening.